Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and what's this? What strange setting have I wandered into now? I am coming to you from a mostly undisclosed location in Atlanta, Georgia. On the day I'm filming this video, I've traveled up to Atlanta for MomoCon 2017. I came up a day early and had a bit of free time on my hands, so I decided to take the opportunity to switch up the setting of my videos just a little bit. Now, don't worry, Kaizogu and Chomsky are back at the house, making sure everything's taken care of, and before you know it, I'll be right back there to handle whatever schemes the Silver Skull can throw at me. But you know, it's kind of funny that I start this episode off by mentioning travel, because travel actually fits very neatly into the theme of today's episode. I know this is a fact that's going to surprise just a few of you, but I was actually a big fan of Resha Sentai ToQGer, a train-themed Sentai that was not adapted in the Power Rangers. And before anybody mentions it, yes, I know my ToQGer shirt is looking pretty rough. It has for a while. ToQGer was the second Sentai to be completely bypassed and not adapted into Power Rangers in any way, shape, or form, passed over for the amazingly, incredibly, mind-blowingly inferior Shuriken Sentai Ninja. Just as a quick reminder, I consider Shuriken Sentai Ninja the worst Sentai I've ever seen, and that is by several orders of magnitude. It is the only Sentai season that I have watched that I ended up hating. And by the way, that is not because its adaptation, Ninja Steel, bypassed ToQGer just on its own merits, using that term incredibly loosely. However, ranting about Ninja is something that I've already done in another video when that decision was originally made. Every so often I'll see comments in my videos, or even other Power Rangers videos that I watch on YouTube, about ToQGer, and I'll see comments by people who were happy that it was made, with some common arguments, and I never miss the opportunity to argue against them as a supporter of ToQGer and the Power Rangers adaptation that it could have been. It just so happened that this happened one day while I was putting together the list of topics for hiatus videos, and here we are, in Atlanta. Speaking of things that are hot, welcome to Summer in the Topics. Any of you heroes that have been watching the show for a while know that I like to balance my hiatus videos by alternating between top 10 videos and topical videos. However, I was getting a lot of requests for top 10 Ranger color videos, which led me to come up with the idea for the Month of Colors, where I did 4 top 10 Ranger color videos in a row. So, since I like that balance in the hiatus so much, I decided to follow that up with Summer in the Topics, or topical videos where I'm just going to do some conversational talking about some topics in the Power Rangers world that I want to talk about. Once we get through Summer in the Topics, we're going to return to the alternating schedule of top 10 videos and topical videos. So, for week 1 of Summer in the Topics, I decided to take some of these opinions about ToQGer that I've been arguing with people and put them into a video for you to enjoy. In my humble opinion, I think that ToQGer could have been made into a fantastic season of Power Rangers, and I'm about to tell you why. It's time for you to hear the Orange Ranger busting the ToQGer arguments. Okay, so first of all, coming up with an original story for the Power Rangers adaptation that would have been serious and compelling enough is not difficult. As a matter of fact, I've already done it. Computer, activate Wayback Machine. In the town of Jackson Rails, an old railroad town, is the hidden labs of the Transportation Questing Group, or TQG. They are an organization developing powerful engines, using the husks of old trains around them for testing and development. They fight against the Shadow Empire, a royal family dedicated to taking over the country by spreading through the rails like a virus through blood vessels. TQG develops technology that allows their engines to power a team of heroes, Power Rangers Rail Riders. The suits are not only incredibly strong, but also feature neural link technology as well as replicator technology, allowing the Rangers to literally think of weapons and attacks and manifest them on the battlefield. However, that is not what this video is about. This video isn't about explaining how you could make a good Power Rangers adaptation out of ToQGer. It's about directly responding to people who feel that it couldn't. So I opened up the comments last week on my previous video to people who didn't feel that it could be made into a good Power Rangers season to explain to me why that is. I called together some of the more common arguments, and let's run through them now. Number 1. The tone of ToQger is too light-hearted and goofy. My main response to this is, so what? Engine Sentai Go-Onger was about a team of goofy heroes fighting to save the environment alongside their chibi anime Zords from a water faucet-themed former porn star and 2 other machines that fell over each other a lot. Power Rangers RPM is about a computer virus that successfully took over the world, driving the last remnants of humanity into a single city, where a woman who was taken from her family as a young child and created said virus to try to escape that captivity, created a set of colorful but strong battlesuits in order to try to correct the mistake and resolve her wrenching guilt. Everybody say it with me now. The tone of the Sentai has no impact on the tone of the Power Rangers season. Seriously, I got a lot of people saying things like, the characters were too jokey, the story's not good enough, and they used a lot of weird, wacky attacks due to the power of imagination. And none of that would work for Power Rangers season. They're also under no obligation to use any of that stuff. We would never see, let alone hear, any of the Sentai Rangers. Power Rangers has changed the story of its Sentai on a number of different occasions, and while the weird, wacky attacks powered by imagination thing is almost a good point because that is in the actual battle footage, they don't need to use that footage. They can make one original CG finisher that they can just use anytime they need to. Number 2. Kids in America don't like trains. Trains are a far bigger deal in Japan. I'll try not to have a giggle about this one over the next 4 days as I spend 1 hour round trip each day on a subway train going to and from the convention center from MomoCon. But yes, in all seriousness, trains are a far bigger part of the culture in Japan than they are here in America because Japan is a far smaller country and more concentrated. Trains here in the United States are mainly centered in big population centers like New York, Chicago, and indeed, Atlanta. I actually saw one commenter who actually came prepared knowing something I was going to say and having a response to that. Yes, there is Thomas the Tank Engine, a children's franchise about living trains that has been around since 1946, aka 46 years longer than the Power Rangers franchise has been around. However, he said that Thomas the Tank Engine is probably aimed at younger kids, probably even younger than Power Rangers is looking to aim at. That idea made me raise an eyebrow so high that I had to go grab a stepladder to peel it off of the ceiling. Actually, I think I could reach the ceiling pretty easily, but that's kind of beside the point. The makers of Power Rangers aren't targeting it at young children. When Power Rangers Ninja Steel has Barney the Dinosaur-esque morals of the day, and to shamelessly borrow something from Yahtzee of Zero Punctuation, is so bad at pushing the envelope that the envelope would move more if you placed it in front of a glacier, Power Rangers Ninja Steel is safe, tame, and very, very much aimed at young children. Children right in the Thomas the Tank Engine demographic. And by the way, Thomas isn't the only one. There is another fairly successful train franchise in the United States. The Polar Express was a children's book written in 1985 that had a CGI film made in 2004, and it has a regularly successful, ongoing annual toy line. Especially around the holidays, it gets really, really popular. And even foregoing that, and I'm going to go ahead and admit in advance here that my argument's going to be weakened a little bit by the fact that I do not have the actual numbers to back this up. However, I have heard a number of toy store employees say that train toys are one of their most popular items, regularly outselling things like, for example, Ninja toys. Also, the passion for trains is something that's often passed down from parent to child. A Power Rangers season centered around trains would be a great way to connect parents and kids. And the show could even be incredibly educational, very similar to how ToQGer was in Japan. You can teach the kids of America how trains are still important and how they are still used today. Heck, the always budget-conscious Saban brands could even contract sponsorships from companies like Amtrak to have them on the show to explain how their trains are used for positive good things.
Number 3. The color swap system would make it hard to sell action figures.
I would make the point of saying, especially since this is a hypothetical argument anyway, that we're not really talking about whether good toys could be made, but just whether a good show could be made. However, Power Rangers as a franchise exists mainly to sell toys, so that argument rings kind of hollow. For those of you who are unfamiliar with ToQGer, each of the 5 core Rangers on the team had the ability to trade the tiny trains that they transformed with each other, and thus switch colors. Thus, each of the Rangers was not identified by their color, ToQ Red, for example, but by their numbers, ToQ Ichigo, or ToQ number 1. The crazy type of merchandising permutations possible from this were reflected in a Ranger key set that was released for the team that featured each of the show's Rangers in each of the different combinations that had been reflected on the show. The core 5 Rangers, with each of their core 5 numbers, was 25 keys all by itself. There are 40 keys in the set altogether. So, how would Bandai of America handle something like that for a Power Rangers toy line, even in the basic action figures? Would it be too simplistic of me to say they wouldn't? Seriously, the line change mechanic is something that fades pretty quickly in ToQGer, only brought up every now and then after the first couple of episodes. Heck, ToQ number 6, the Orange Ranger who I'm styled after, doesn't even use the mechanic. BOA would probably just make the core figure line and just explain on the box that it's something that the team can do. Or if it's a mechanic that you absolutely feel has to be included in the toys, then just include little pegs that say 1 through 5 that you can just slot in. The only thing that you lose in that case is the ability to gender swap Rangers. For example, if you take the number 5, normally the Pink Ranger, and put that onto the Red Ranger figure, that figure is obviously still male. But in all seriousness, do you think Saban Brands and Bandai of America want you to be able to create a male Pink Ranger?
Number 4. The suits are too simplistic and childish.
This argument is a really common one, which is probably owed to the fact that it's one of the only ones that comes from an official source. It was rumored and basically confirmed that a Saban Brands rep at Power Morphicon 4 said that Saban Brands felt that the ToQGer suits were too preschoolish, and it was one of the main reasons that they weren't really warm on adapting the show. Yeah, I sure am glad Power Rangers had never used really simplistic, ugly-looking suits before in any season of Power Rangers. Yes, sirree, I am seriously glad that the show has been bold enough, the creators of the show have been bold enough to skip any season that featured a really simplistic or ugly-looking design so that we wouldn't have to suffer through that as fans of Power Rangers. Seriously, I don't think the ToQGer suits are all that bad. Yes, you have a lot of one solid color, but you have the train line pattern from train maps, the big number that denotes what track it is, again, just like a train map. The train tracks going over the visor is something I hear mentioned as a bad point, but I actually really like them. Are these the best suits that I've ever seen? No, clearly not. However, are they bad enough to not adapt the show into Power Rangers? Would they be the ugliest Power Ranger suits we've ever gotten? No, far from.
Number 5. The Zords are too simple, too blocky.
I come at this argument from a couple of different angles. First of all, this argument is not actually referring to the Zords, even if it says so. How can I say that so confidently? Because the Zords are trains. They look exactly how they're supposed to look. Trains are long, straight lines. There's nothing wrong with the way the Zords look. This is not a matter of opinion, it is a fact. The Zords look fine. If you do not think so, you are wrong. When you say the Zords look blocky, you're actually referring to the Megazords because of the way the Zords combine. although I actually really like it, simplistic as it is. The trains line up next to each other sideways and link together to form Megazords. Now, I will say that ToQo has big, giant shoulder pads that I don't think were really necessary. It seems like those could have folded back onto the back or just retracted down into the shoulders. But it's not offensive, it's not terrible, it's definitely something that I got used to. Besides, ToQGer was a season about trains that gave us a train Zord for every ranger. Ninninger was a Sentai about ninjas that gave us a red ninja, a blue dragon, a white dog, a yellow truck, a pink train. Kind of funny how we got a train either way, huh? The auxiliary Zords thus far are an elephant and a UFO, and if you think that's bad, just wait until you see the things that are coming. So yeah, you may not have liked how the train Zords looked, but at least they were on theme. Okay, and let's head this one off at the pass right now. I have actually heard some people say, being completely serious, that the reason that the entire season of ToQGer could not be adapted into Power Rangers is this, an incredibly mimetic moment from the show that many fans started calling Train Boner. ToQo had been trapped in a large box and it escaped by lowering the folding section of the red train on its chest down, which unfortunately placed that section extending directly from the Megazord's crotch. It was funny, and yes, it would never fly on Power Rangers. It is also one single shot that is very, very, very easily edited around.
Number 6. The show would have been written by the current writing staff, so who is to say it had been better handled than Ninja Steel?
Okay, so the main thing to remember in this case is the point you have to keep in mind, what you have to consider at a moment like this is, you know what, no, I've got nothing. That's a good point. Listen, Chip Lynn wrote my favorite season, Time Force, and I follow writers like Becca Barnes on Twitter, so I know they're trying and I know that they mean well. I personally suspect that they're being reined in by Nickelodeon because I know that they are capable of writing better than we're getting. But yeah, this is the one argument I don't really have an answer for. I don't mean for this to sound conceited or stuck up at all like I'm bragging, but I really don't have any faith anymore that what we would get for a Power Rangers adaptation of ToQGer would be any better than the idea that I came up with myself. Huh, I guess sometimes it really is better to just write the fan fiction. That's going to just about wrap things up, but there is something I wanted to say here. I didn't actually make this video to try and change anybody's mind. Folks, this is a battle that's already been decided. ToQGer was skipped. I have accepted that, and there's nothing I can do to change it. And the fact that the first Sentai to be entirely skipped, Go Busters, wasn't looped back to before its 5-year shelf life on Monster Suits expired, doesn't give me a lot of hope that ToQGer will be adapted for Power Rangers 2019-2020. Besides, my hopes for a canon, fully orange Power Ranger seem very likely to happen. The current candidate for that spot, 2019-2020, the current Sentai Uchu Sentai Q Ranger, features an Orange Ranger right from the word go. And even if it does end up being Dobutsu Sentai Zyuohger, as unlikely as that seems at this point, that Sentai also features an Orange Ranger, although to be fair, he is later in the season at a point where he could possibly be skipped over. Next week, things are going to get dark. No, not that kind of dark. We are coming off a PG-13 Power Rangers movie, and there are also rumors that Adi Shankar, who was responsible for that rated R original film Power/Rangers, wants to make a hard R rated Power Rangers cartoon for Netflix. This has raised a question in the mind of many fans. Can a franchise like Power Rangers that has been so lighthearted and so focused on children have a darker, more mature adaptation that could actually work? Well, I hope to answer that question for you next week when I tell you how Dark Power Rangers can work. That's going to do it for another Power Rangers Ninja Steel Hiatus video, filmed in Atlanta, Georgia this time. Thank you so much as always for watching. Make sure to like the video by clicking the like button right down below. In the comments below, let me know what you thought about my arguments. Did they change your mind in any ways, or do you still feel the same way you did about the possibilities of a ToQGer adaptation? Make sure to subscribe to the channel to see all the Weekly Geekly. Also make sure you ring that bell so you get notified of whenever I post new videos. The next time you see me make a video, it'll probably be back in the familiar confines of the normal house. But now I'm going to go turn in, I think, maybe get things ready for bed, and get ready to head out tomorrow and enjoy MomoCon 2017. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. What strange setting have I wandered into now? Good question. I realized my ToQGer. That's what happened in the wet lib. That Sentai was about, ham. Russia Sentai Hamager. The second Sentai to be skipped over for adaptation into Power Rangers. And, no. It is the only season of Sentai that I have watched all of and have ended up hating. However, ranting about Ninja is something that I already did in another video when that decision was originally made. I will see arguments, however, ranting about Ninja is something that I've already done in another video when that decision was made. Every so often I'll see Speaking of things that are hot, welcome to Summer in the Topics. You know, by arguing against some of the things that people have said that it would not be a good season adaptation. I got a lot of people saying things like, the characters are too jokey, the story's not good enough. The other thing that they said, we would never see, let alone hear, any of the Sentai Rangers. We would never see, let alone hear, any of the Sentai Rangers. Power Rangers has changed the story of the Sentai on a number of different occasions. We would never even see, let alone hear, any of the Sentai Rangers. Power Rangers has changed the story of the Sentai adaptation on a number of different times. A franchise that has been around since 1946, aka 56 years longer than Power Rangers. A franchise, aka 56 years longer than, no, not 56. Not 56, because 56 would be 2002. It is 46. 92. And to shamelessly steal something from Yahtzee of Zero Punctuation, for those of you who are unfamiliar with ToQGer, the 5 core Rangers on the team have the ability to trade the tiny trains that they transformed with each other, and thus switch colors. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the crazy types of merchandising so just make the regular core figures for each Ranger and explain on the box that it's something the team's capable of. And we also have rumors that Adi Shankar, who was responsible for that original Power Rangers film, we are coming off a PG-13 Power Rangers motion picture, and we also have rumors that Adi Shankar, who